So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute, man. And listen, y'all know if I'm here right now with this video, what am I looking for? In a drained canal? Man, I've watched way too many like mob type movies, bro. You know exactly what I'm looking for, right? So anytime I see the drained canal, I'm like, oh man. They might find this, they might find that. I gotta stop watching all these mob movies. But anyway, this video here is they drained this canal for the first time in decades. And what they discovered is truly bizarre. All right, so if you're new, hit that subscribe button to join the fam, man. And let's see what they find. Swimming with the fishies. Nah, see, I watch it too much.
Body of water, who knows what you might find? So much stuff can wind up in there that you may well have treasure waiting at the bottom, or dead bodies. These are 20 bizarre discoveries found in drained water bodies. Number 20. The sunken treasures of a Paris canal. We all think of Paris as the city of love and lights, but in the 10th arrondissement, which is a fairly central neighborhood of the capital city, there are some secrets to be uncovered. There's a canal in that area called the Canal Saint Martin, and they dredge it every 15 years or so to clean, repair, and provide veterinary care to the many fish that live there. But fish and algae aren't the only items they find at the canal. A plethora of mysterious objects emerging from the sludge truly unmask the arrondissement's secret life. So much so that the event has become a Parisian activity, as crowds gather on the romantic arched footbridges, craning to get a look at the oddities poking out of the mysterious canal. The last time they'd emptied the 90,000 cubic meters of water into the River Seine, they found two 75mm shells from World War I, several safes, gold coins, washing machines, and 56 cars. This time, they found scores of Paris Philippe hire bikes and lots of regular bikes, shopping caddies, public trash cans, a fire extinguisher, a children's doll's pushchair, street signs, countless umbrellas, and wheelie suitcases. And of course, tons of trash and debris, which included bottles and plastic bags, among other nasty things.
A whole toilet, bro. That's just random to me. Yo, and I've seen this clip here before about this body of water they drain. But I don't remember seeing the toilet being in the clip. Fam, just a random toilet just out of nowhere. I'd have had to take a picture, had somebody take a picture of me sitting on there. Just like in real deep thought, you know what I'm saying?
So I guess the moral of the story is don't litter the canal, because sadly everything eventually ends up in the ocean. And that's a bad thing for everyone. Like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Number 19. Bombay Beach Town. California is known for its paradisiac beaches and the massive mansions where celebrities live. But this time, California made the headlines because of a horrific public health disaster that involved the state's largest lake called Salton Sea. The lake was actually created by accident in 1905 and was then transformed into a vacation destination that soon attracted the rich and famous. It became such a hotspot that the lake's shoreline was invaded with luxurious resorts, yacht clubs, and much more. By the 1950s and 60s, anyone who was someone often summered there. Huge celebrities like Frank Sinatra were regular visitors. But come the 70s, everything came crumbling down as fast as you can say Salton Sea. The lake apparently had a series of very serious issues. Because it wasn't a natural lake, there was no way for it to drain. Runoff water contaminated with high levels of pesticides from nearby farms was flowing rapidly into the lake, and the salt levels increased so much that Salton Sea became saltier than the Pacific Ocean. The lake was also inevitably shrinking. The retreating shoreline left about 20,000 acres of dry lake bed exposed. This also caused toxic dust to reach neighboring communities, causing very serious health problems for the local people. Actually, 1 in 5 children in Imperial County suffer from asthma and have lung-related illnesses. Number 18. Underwater railway tracks and submerged forest revealed by draining operation on 100-year-old reservoir. Lake Tapps is a massive century-old reservoir, and it's located just outside of Seattle, Washington. The lake was flooded in 1911 to power a hydroelectric dam, and at the time, it swallowed up 4.5 square miles of countryside.
Wow.
Including a very old railway and a huge chunk of a forest. Recently, local authorities started the huge project of emptying the lake in order to be able to do some needed repairs on the dam. The lake hasn't been producing hydroelectric power since 2009 and has been used since for recreational activities such as fishing and boating. Once they started to drain the lake, all the forgotten things started to emerge again. The wooden old-school railway is still standing, and so are the hundreds of trees that got swallowed up all those years ago. They also found a CD, which nowadays could also be considered a relic. Number 17. 1,000 carved Shiva lingas in India and Cambodia. There's a very special town in India called Sisri, Karnataka, where you can find 1,000 carved Shiva lingas, which are votary objects that symbolize the god Lord Shiva and are revered as an emblem of generative power in the Hindu religion. There's actually a pilgrimage in that town for all those who need some spiritual healing and peace of mind. But did you know there's another place on this earth that also has 1,000 carved Shiva lingas? Yeah, you heard that right. There are 2 places with these mesmerizingly gorgeous carvings. The second one is located in the lovely city of Siem Reap in Cambodia. Although the one in India remains the prime pilgrimage place and is situated at the center of the river Shalmala, the other one's gaining more and more popularity. The 1,000 Shiva lingas are carved on the rocks alongside the banks of the river. The Cambodian one was discovered in the year 1969 by Jean Boulbey, an ethnologist. But because the country was torn by the Cambodian Civil War, the site was out of reach for 2 decades, but it has recently been declared safe again. It is now considered the largest Hindu temple outside of India. Number 16. Stone animals. This bright red Martian-looking lake is not from a movie. It's actually very much real and on this earth. It's called Lake Natron and it's located in Tanzania, Africa. But as unique and original as it may look, this place is a little bit, well, lethal. The lake's extreme alkaline waters have a pH as high as 10.5. How could this be? The lake owes its unique chemistry to the surrounding volcanic geology. In other words, minerals like sodium carbonate and salts produced by volcanic activity flow into the lake from the surrounding hills. There's also the fact that this bizarre lake doesn't drain into any sea or river, which means that evaporation is the only way it can lose water, making it extremely hot. Sometimes the lake can reach 106 degrees Fahrenheit. And if the scarlet waters of Lake Natron weren't enough to catch your attention, what about its capacity of turning animals into stone? You know that Medusa would have loved to vacation here. But in all seriousness, the salt level in the waters is so insanely high that when a dead animal falls into the lake, the carcass, instead of decomposing, actually crystallizes. In that way, the lake is full of creatures that have been turned into eerie and spectacular statues, which make for a very phantasmagoric setting, perfect for original photographs. Number 15. Angler pulls ATF badge and gun lost 22 years ago. We often think that only criminals throw their guns into a lake to hide the evidence. But to everyone's surprise, a fisherman in California pulled up an ATF badge and gun from the drought-stricken Castaic Lake. The lake is located in the Sierra Pelona Mountains of northwestern Los Angeles County, and
So where's the person that it belongs to? That's what I need to know.
at the time, it was experiencing severe, near-record low levels. The water had dropped 150 feet in only a few months. This led to a local angler to discover the unique backpack containing a very corroded Smith & Wesson semi-automatic pistol, a vintage beeper, and a gold U.S. Treasury agent's badge. They managed to trace back the belongings to a federal agent that had unfortunately lost his equipment on a fishing trip back in 1992. And as it turns out, that agent was still active. He was working with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. The amused agent explained to local authorities that he had placed his equipment in a backpack for safekeeping, but ironically, lost everything overboard when the boat he was sailing became swamped.
Do we believe that? Do we believe? See, that's a little bit more of those shows. Because what do most people do when they tossing something in a lake? They trying to get rid of evidence, right? Not thinking you would actually, you know what I mean, ever find it.
As the saying goes, never put all your eggs in one basket, not even if you're a highly trained federal agent. Number 14. Drought exposes Mormon Island, a Gold Rush era ghost town in Folsom Lake. Every time the water levels in Folsom Lake go down, these amazing ruins of a Gold Rush era village get exposed. The lake dropped down to 381 feet during the summer of 2021, so visitors brave enough to take on a very bad heat wave and a small hike had the opportunity of seeing the remnants of Mormon Island. Mormon Island was once a settlement of more or less 2,500 people back in 1853, but then the Folsom Dam was built, and in 1955 the reservoir was flooded. Today, you can see bits of pottery and other objects that have been left to sit on the lake bed for all those years. The settlement was founded by 3 members of the Mormon Battalion, the only religious unit in the United States Army's history. They even helped as volunteers to fight in the Mexican-American War of 1846 to 48. A group of them were stationed at Sutter's Fort when they decided to go deer hunting in March 1848, but instead of deer, they found gold along the South Fork of the American River. And when news spread, a parade of Mormon men headed to the spot to set up camp and become rich. Talk about the American dream, right? Mormon Island was never technically an island, but it was wrapped on 3 sides by a river, and they made a canal across its south end as well. Number 13. Underwater creatures. Have you ever wondered what happens to the fish when they dredge and clean a canal? Well, as it turns out, they take the fish for a drive. The Salt River Project canals deliver clean water to about 2 million people in the valley. And recently, for the first time in over a decade, the entire canal system is being drained for cleaning and repairs. The canal system is so vast, though, that the project will take about 7 years to finish. But how come they didn't have to clean the canals in such a long time? Well, the answer is white Amur fish. In the late 1980s, the Salt River Project started filling its canals with grass carp. Today, about 18,000 of these fish live in the canal system, and they have a very important job. They eat the algae, the weeds, and the other aquatic vegetation to keep the canals nice and clean. In fact, the Arizona Game and Fish Association calls them aquatic cows.
The reason why this is kind of, because I've seen several clips of people fishing in these canals, man, and then you hearing what these fish are put here to do and clean up. You know what I mean? And just,
In fact, the Arizona Game and Fish Association calls them aquatic cows. But these fish are quite expensive, and sadly, they are all sterile. So to restock them can cost up to $20 a pop. They had to find a way to move them without harming them. Before draining the canal, they send crews of fishermen to catch as many fish as they can and move them upstream somewhere that hasn't been drained yet. They take the fish for a drive. Number 12. Headless Buddha statue. Thousands of people visited a Buddhist temple in central Thailand after it was exposed for the first time in 2 decades. The temple had been submerged in a dam reservoir, but recently a severe drought drove water levels to record lows. But not all is bad news, as a lot of people, including some Buddhist monks, were able to visit the long-lost temple. The scene was quite bizarre, though. Headless Buddha statues and broken temple structures on cracked earth, littered with dead fish all over. The dam has a capacity of 960 million cubic meters, which is quite a lot, so much so that it's the only source of water for more than 1.3 million acres of farmland in 4 different provinces of the country. With the horrible drought, about 3,000 acres have been cut from receiving water for the crops, which is causing some very serious problems for local farmers. In fact, the Meteorological Department of Thailand said it was the most severe drought the country has had to face in over a decade.
wow.
Number 11. From a hand grenade to a Mercedes, the weird and deadly debris found in canals. Thousands of volunteers have been appointed to the mammoth task of cleaning 2,000 miles of waterways in England and Wales. They found all sorts of things that aren't supposed to be under the water in a canal, including shopping carts, countless bikes, hundreds of tires, thousands of plastic bags, gas bottles, several car batteries, and many other types of debris that people simply threw into the canal over the years. But amongst the most unique objects found was a genuine Second World War hand grenade with the pin still in. which of course sparked a police armed force response and even a controlled explosion. But aside from extremely deadly war artifacts, they also found 14 safes, all open for some reason, and lots of laughing gas bottles, probably linked to the nearby rave parties in the Grand Union Canal in London. They also found a 2013 Mercedes A-Class car, which apparently...
What do y'all be doing at these rave parties, bro? Y'all got laughing gas at these parties? No, thank you. Make sure I never go to a rave party now. The curiosity is gone. Laughing gas?
was nothing other than a very expensive casualty of a marital dispute. Go figure. But it wasn't alone either. 6 other sunken...
Meaning, ladies, y'all gotta chill out. You know what I mean? I get you upset, but you gotta chill out. If y'all doing that, if y'all throwing vehicles in canals, y'all gotta chill.
Cars were also found. The lesson to be learned from this comical event, though, is that canals are not trash cans, and everything people throw in there can endanger wildlife in and out of the water. Please dispose of your scooters and cars the proper way. Number 10. Bridge over no water. 400-year-old Ming Dynasty bridge is discovered at bottom of dried up Chinese lake. This spectacular bridge was once China's longest lake bridge. It stretches for nearly 2 miles across the surface of the Poyang Lake in Jiangxi Province, southeast China. It used to provide an incredibly important and crucial transport link between the large towns and small fishing villages that surrounded the area. But eventually, the lake levels started to rise, so much so that the once intensely used bridge disappeared into a watery grave, completely buried under the surface for almost 4 centuries. But now, due to a particularly severe and prolonged drought, the impressive bridge emerges once again for everyone to see. Now, the bridge has become a tourist attraction. People come from all over the world to see the...
Yo, it's really 2 miles. Like, that aerial footage, sheesh. Like, imagine walking across that.
Now, the bridge has become a tourist attraction. People come from all over the world to see the Ming Dynasty creation as it rears its head among the mud in the Poyang Basin. The bridge was made of granite, which allowed it to survive for over 400 years under the water, and it measures 2,500 feet. It was built in the year 1631 during the reign of the last Ming Emperor. The entire structure was known back then as the Thousand Eye Bridge because of the 1,100 holes dotted along its length. The impressive lake used to be 4,500 square kilometers in the past, but has been drying up recently due to a combination of unusually low rainfall and the impact of the Three Gorges Dam.
I would definitely try to walk that. Definitely. And then, you know, if you walk across it, you got to walk back across it. So that's an easy 4 miles right there. Yeah. Talk about get your steps in, trying to close a ring on your watch. That'll do it.
Number 9. Lake of Skeletons. Locally known as Mystery Lake, this high-altitude glacial lake is located in the Uttarakhand state of India in the Himalayas. The area around the skeleton lake is uninhabited and is at an impressive altitude of roughly 16,470 feet, surrounded by glaciers full of pointy rocks and snow-clad mountains. Rupkund is nonetheless a very popular trekking destination. The size of the Lake of Skeletons varies quite substantially, but it's seldom more than 131 square feet in diameter. Because of its altitude, the waters are completely frozen during the long months of winter. But this lake isn't famous for its beauty or its location. With a depth of about 10 feet, Rupkund is in fact known for the hundreds of ancient human skeletons found at its edge. The human bones are visible at the bottom of the lake when the snow melts away. Legend has it, a group of people were tragically killed in a sudden and particularly violent hailstorm in the 9th century. Another theory is that the human skeletal remains belong to a group of Indian soldiers who tried to invade Tibet back in 184. A group of 70 or so soldiers were then forced to find their way home over the treacherous Himalayas and died on the way. Number 8. Fort Moki. Lake Powell is a man-made reservoir located on the Colorado River in Utah and Arizona, United States. It is the second largest artificial reservoir in the whole country behind Lake Mead. It can store about 24,322,000 acre-feet of water when at full capacity. But now, 7 years of drought has lowered the water level by more than 100 feet, which means that the ghosts and secrets that couldn't be seen for over 4 decades are once again reaching up to the sunlight. Now, if you're lucky lucky, you can see the old town and the ferry sites. But the most spectacular and impressive sight of Lake Powell is definitely the ancient ruins. The early explorers and gold miners had christened the site Fort Moki. It's a 1,000-year-old sacred monument that was erected by the ancient people of the desert. Legend has it that unseen spirits have watched over it even after she slipped beneath the waters of Lake Powell in the late 60s. The monument stands on a thin sliver of stone and mud. It was an old Native American fort. It looks like an ancient shipwreck at the edges of the water. The only thing that remains now is a pile of ballast stones with timbers that have rotted away probably hundreds of years ago. But the site is remarkably still dominant in the region, a reminiscence of times past and people that are no longer living there. Number 7. Wedding ring. A wedding ring is an incredibly important piece of jewelry for a lot of married people. No matter how pricey or fancy it is irreplaceable all the same. It represents the happiest day of an adult person's life, and that is extremely emotionally valuable. Now, imagine losing such a precious item in a big body of water. The nightmare. Well, that's exactly what happened to Matt Walker, a 47-year-old man who was enjoying a gorgeous summertime day at a marine lake with his kids. He was swimming joyfully when his white gold band slipped from his finger. As you can imagine, he frantically looked for it with the help of his children, but the wedding ring was nowhere to be found. And honestly, in a lake that's 250 meters long and 100 meters wide, looking for a tiny little piece of jewelry is like looking for a needle in a haystack. In other words, the odds were really not in his favor. But Matt was adamant to get his ring back, so he contacted the committee which maintains the lake and found out that they were going to drain it 2 months later. He immediately enlisted the help of Somerset artifact seekers, which agreed to send a team out there to help him with the hunt for the aloof ring. 5 people turned up, incredibly enthusiastic and armed with metal detectors. At first, nothing was turning up, and the spirit of the quest started to dim. But eventually, 2 hours into the painstaking search, one of the volunteers, called Dave Baker, found the missing wedding ring. Number 6. Swedish girl 8 pulls 1,500-year-old sword from lake in Sweden. This adorable little girl found a pre-Viking era sword while she was swimming in a lake in her country during the summer. Her name is Saga Vanacek, and she found the valuable relic in the Vidostern Lake while she was on holidays with her family during summertime. Her family has a summer house in Jönköping County in Sweden, and they go there every summer. But this time, the trip was a little bit more special due to what she pulled out of the lake. Saga excitedly took the ancient sword to a nearby museum, and the experts working there told her the sword was probably about 1,500 years old. Saga stepped on this historical artifact probably due to the extremely low water levels that summer, which followed a particularly severe drought that year. I felt something in the water and lifted it up. Then there was a handle, and I went to tell my dad that it looked like a sword, said the little girl to a reporter from Sveriges Television. Her dad initially thought his daughter had found an unusually shaped stick or branch in the lake's waters, but as he got a closer look, he realized it was likely an ancient relic. The sword is now being kept at the local museum, and the staff said that it was surprisingly
Now everybody out there looking to see what they can find.
well preserved for having been underwater for so long. Number
I hope they paid her. I hope she got her money for that.
5. Centuries-old Nandi statues unearthed near Mysore. A huge blast from the past has come to the villagers of Arasenakere, a little town 20 kilometers south of Mysore, India, when they unearthed 2 massive Nandi statues that were buried face to face under a very dry lake bed. Nandi is a Hindu deity that is most commonly depicted as a sitting bull in Shiva temples. Legend has it that if you whisper your wishes in the ears of Nandi, they reach Lord Shiva himself and he makes your wishes come true. So you can imagine how ecstatic local people were when they unburied these 2 ancient statues. As it seems, the last Maharaja of Mysore, Chaitra Marijendra Wadiyar, who ruled from 1940 to 1950 and died in 1974, always wanted to excavate the dry lake because he knew the statues were there. It took a long time for his dream to come true, but the day finally came, and now the magnificent statues are out for everyone to see and visit. Experts from Karnataka's Department of Archaeology, Museums and Heritage visited the site, and they determined that the 2 statues seem to be from the 16th or 17th centuries AD. Number 4. Drought reveals a lost Spanish Stonehenge. The dolmen of Guadalperal has been underwater for 5 decades, but now, finally, the 7,000-year-old rock circle is back on dry land. The reason why the 150 upright stones are now visible isn't really that great. Spain has been suffering from record heat waves and extreme drought, which has gravely hurt the economy, as Spain is a country that relies heavily on their exportation of crops and fruit. But the silver lining is that now...
I would be looking at that as like a sign, though. Why was this exposed? What is the universe? What is the earth trying to tell us? What is it saying other than, you know what I mean? It's it's a drought there. Other than that, what else is it trying to say to us, though? You know what I mean? Besides the obvious. Yeah. That would definitely might be a spiritual place for me to go sit and, you know what I mean? Just have me a spiritual spot. When they expose something like that, I start thinking like, what is the universe saying to us right now? For real.
Now, they have their own Stonehenge again, which can also attract a lot of tourism and heal the economy a bit. In fact, it's a little ironic that they call the Dolmen of Guadalperal the Spanish Stonehenge, as it's 2,000 years older than the one in England. By all logic, the one in England should be called the English Dolmen. The megalithic monuments are located several...
Look at the aerial shot, bro. Look at the Yeah. That means something to me, man.
Miles from the town of Parellada de Malta, and it's been underwater since the 1963 construction of the Valdecañas Dam. That year, the western region of Spain was completely flooded, including the magnificent stones. The dolmen was found in 1926 by German archaeologist Hugo Obermeier and his research team. Some scientists believe it could have been a solar temple and also a burial enclave. Some Roman remains have been found at the site, including a coin, some ceramic fragments, and a grinding stone. Number 3. Burial at the bottom of the Aral Sea. The Aral Sea was a lake located between Kazakhstan in the north and Uzbekistan in the south. Sadly, the Aral Sea began shrinking in the 60s, and by 2010 it had largely dried up. The name roughly translates to Sea of Islands, referring to over 1,100 islands that had once dotted its waters. At some point, the captain of a tug who was ferrying barges from Moynak to Aralsh noted by utter surprise that there were visible buildings at the bottom of the lake. They were the ruins of houses and Duval. The issue of the Aral Sea drying up was already a major issue for local people who have their livelihoods depend on it. But as researchers came to investigate the underwater ruins, they realized that in the past, the sea had to have been even smaller than what it is today. As they kept combing through the lake bottom, they eventually found an entire mosque on the dried bottom. They had just found Aral Asar, which was a settlement of the 14th century. They also found evidence of rice fields to the west of the settlement and some Golden Horde period coins. When they examined a large, extremely well-preserved mausoleum, they realized that the ancient settlement was, in fact, highly developed.
Wow.
Number 2. Whale stranded on the island of Fuerteventura. They drained this canal for the first time in decades, and what they discovered is truly bizarre. Sometimes we forget just how massive whales can really be. I mean, sure, we all know that the blue whale is the largest animal on the entire planet, but it's difficult to put that into perspective given that they live in a huge body of water. In comparison with the enormity of an ocean, a blue whale doesn't seem that big. But when we see a whale out of context, that's when the realization of their true spectacular size comes rushing in. Take the carcass of this enormous whale that got stranded on the island of Fuerteventura in the Spanish Canary Islands. This poor animal apparently died of natural causes, and its cadaver drifted towards the island's port. It was a male specimen and measured about 20 meters long. You can truly take in its immensity once they managed to fish it out of the water with the help of a crane. The authorities decided to perform an autopsy to find out why such a young and seemingly healthy specimen suddenly died. After the autopsy's finished, they plan to bury the carcass to let it decompose, and then fetch the skeleton to display it in a marine museum. Number 1. Fireball Down Under. Researchers uncover older than Earth meteorite. After a greenish fireball streaked above the Australian outback, a group of meteorite researchers immediately went hunting for the space rock that caused such a spectacular cosmic display. They eventually found the space chunky rock on the salty mud near a remote lake bed in the desert. The meteorite weighed 3.5 pounds, and scientists think it probably formed at the same time that our solar system was being born, more than 4.
Still wouldn't touch it with my bare hands, though.
4.5 billion years ago. This extremely old space rock streaked across the sky on November 27th, 2015. More studies have to be made on it, but they think it's most likely a chondrite meteorite, which is the most common and most primitive type of meteorite found in our solar system. It was originally about 175 pounds before it burned out and shrunk when it came into contact with the Earth's atmosphere. It stopped burning at about 11 miles above the surface of our planet and fell steeply to the ground into the muddy waters of a lake, where it remained for an entire month before they managed to find it. I don't know about you, but I had no idea so many fascinating things could be hiding under the many bodies of water on our planet.
I'm always curious to look, you know what I mean? Like, anytime somebody posts something with something when they draining a canal, I'm always, now some of these clips we've seen before, but some of these were new, man. And it's always interesting to see what they discover in these canals, you know, other than what I'm looking for, you know? But yeah, man. Some people just, and some people just so disrespectful, man. They throw anything in these canals, bro. We gotta stop that. So putting these type of videos out and stressing to people more and more, man, this is not your trash can. This is not your dump site and disposal unit. No, don't be throwing stuff in these canals, man. For real. It irks me. You know what I mean? I ain't talking to the mob though. I'm staying clear though. But y'all get at me in the comment section, man. Let me know what you thought of this video. And stick around and stay tuned. Till the next one, I'm gone. Peace.